All right, everyone. Hello. This is Jamie, and that's Adam. And this is episode 1 of Bizarre Brainwaves. Today, we're going to be talking about intrusive thoughts, the internet, meme culture, and just different things like that. For some of those who don't know, this is an Air's Think Tank podcast. I have a master's in psychology, working on a PhD, and Adam is a recovering opiate addict.
I'm an EMT working on my paramedic certification, sir.
That's even better. That's much more useful because, yeah, I think successful psychology majors aren't having a podcast talking about intrusive thoughts. All right, Adam, what do you want to open up with a little bit about what intrusive thoughts are? We'll kind of volleyball this.
So, yeah. Intrusive thoughts are basically ideas and images that come to your mind uninvited and unwanted. It can be symptoms of like some underlying mental disorders, OCD specifically. There's a lot of intrusive thoughts that go with the OCD, like that want to flip on, probably shouldn't make that hand gesture, like flip off and on the light switch. That would be, most people would consider that an intrusive thought, but it can extend to wanting to just stupid stuff in everyday life, like you see a cop with a gun, you want to grab that gun. Or R. Kelly had lots of intrusive thoughts like that. That's
This show does not endorse R. Kelly or his intrusive thoughts, but I think R. Kelly would definitely not be in prison if not for his intrusive thoughts.
Is he in prison? Hopefully.
I'm pretty sure. I don't know. I know that Netflix series made it seem like, I didn't watch it, but it implied no one has a Netflix arc that big and isn't in prison. I mean, Tiger King had a few episodes, and he's in prison. So.
Oh yeah, it took him a while, but yeah, he's in prison for racketeering and human trafficking.
So as Adam was saying, intrusive thoughts, or it can be random things. Usually in psychological textbooks, it can, like Adam said, it can be wanting to grab an officer's weapon, or it can be harming a child. It can be a multitude of essentially ideas that you don't want to be in there. And usually, like, you go to a therapist and you'll sit down and you're like, yeah, I have intrusive thoughts, but you're kind of like walking that line of trying to get help and trying to not get institutionalized. So just make sure you have a good therapist there on that edge. Just kidding. Be very honest with your therapist to your best degree. We do not endorse lying to your therapist either. Just kind of want to put that out there.
Actually, according to Harvard Health, the best therapy for if you are suffering with intrusive thoughts, you want to find a cognitive behavioral therapist. That's the best line of treatment for like those intrusive thoughts, the chronic bad ones. So, whoever that helps out, there's a little info on what's to look for if you need a therapist for that.
Build off what Adam said, cognitive behavioral therapy, or CBT, it's actually really useful in honestly any psychological disorder, because they try to like step through the process of why your brain is wired the way it is, maybe fix some of the neuroplasticity associated with some of those intrusive thoughts. But that's enough nerd talk. I think they got the gist, hopefully. But why are we talking about it? Why are we talking about the internet? And so the funny thing about meme culture and the internet, and I think it's a point I've made in some of my other videos on the page, is that essentially you go on Facebook or Twitter or whatever. I don't want these younger kids to call me old for being on Facebook still. But you see like a meme, like, and it's like, oh, that intrusive thought to do blank, and you're like, oh, that's funny. I've had that thought, like the grabbing the service, or a member's someone's weapon essentially off their holster while standing behind them in line somewhere. It's like, wow, I thought that was just me, and you can't just open a conversation that way. Like I can't walk up to some guy at work and like, hey, have you ever had this impulsive thought? And they're like, that guy probably shouldn't bring anything to the potluck, and he definitely shouldn't be allowed to work in this office anymore.
Don't pee in people's. Don't pee in a casserole, Jamie. Nobody wants that.
I wouldn't be that guy. I'd be the guy who brings the laxatives to the office Christmas party to kind of spice some things up.
Oh God.
Margaret from accounting. I'm sick of her stale green bean casserole every year. My wife's actually an accountant, and they invited me to the Halloween party, and it's just like walking by cubicle after cubicle. It's just like, man, like I'd like to have a stable job of some kind where I just sit at a cubicle with a computer, but at the same time, I know I'll get fired so quickly because of intrusive thoughts.
I'm doing some looking at just the history of the internet meme.
Okay.
They are the concept apparently and ironically of the meme was introduced in 1972 by a Mr. Dick Dawkins.
That's a made-up name.
Richard Dawkins.
Richard.
That is the dude's name.
Richard Dawkins. Dick Dawkins. That's his name. We're not making jokes. We're trying not to curse on the podcast as to not be penalized by YouTube.
Another never mind. But yeah. So how do those two ideas commingle? How does the intrusive thoughts and the meme, like, why are we doing this, this episode on those two ideas specifically?
This is your idea. I don't know. I'm just kidding. No, I went to him because the internet allows us to connect with so many people like around the world, and new ideas and things like that. But then you start seeing like people post on Pinterest, like, have you ever, like, things like that, things that essentially in a smaller community or like group of friends or whatever might not be something that's necessarily discussed normally. But with the anonymity that the internet allows, you kind of have a little bit more free range to talk about some outlandish or like private thoughts. So the internet allows us all to be connected. And meme culture and the internet allows us to all talk about our intrusive thoughts, because in our brains we think, okay, I'm sick in the head or something, I'm mentally unwell because of this intrusive thought. But then you start kind of talking with other people and you're like, okay, maybe I'm not alone in this. Like, other people are having similar like thoughts in our brains, like, because if you're the only person thinking about this weird intrusive thought, then like, maybe you're weird. Like, not everyone gets this intrusive thought to go blow up a building in OKC, but like, there's other I don't do that. Adam really, I think Adam might actually be a big supporter of the Unabomber.
That happened 3 days before I was born.
Where were you that day?
In my mom's uterus, trying to like hanging on for dear life because I didn't want to come out.
Fiction. I guess that's the point I'm trying to make, is that the internet allows us to all talk. We all have intrusive thoughts. But like, what do you think happens if an intrusive thought doesn't, like, like making something normalized? Okay, cool, it's funny, like we all have that same thought. But then I think what can also be really scary is when essentially intrusive like thought becomes behavior, thoughts and behaviors, and then eventually it turns into action. Like, your brain keeps thinking and thinking and thinking over and over and over until essentially I think some people might give in and the intrusive thought kind of takes over. like some people like, oh, I don't want to hurt myself or others, and then that idea keeps popping and popping, and they never seek out the psychological help, and eventually they might give in to that intrusive thought and pull a Casey Anthony
Or a me.
for you.
Yeah, that's actually a interesting point on just like think about the evolution of memes when we were like seniors in high school. It was literally all Columbine and 9/11, like that just making fun of that and downplaying, the severity of those two events. Now it's just I don't even understand, like, because it's they're created by
Younger
different
people.
generation. Yeah, different generations. So I just, not to get all boomery, but like my little sister show, I don't even remember what the meme was, but it was literally just, there was no joke in it. It was a picture and then text over the picture, and no joke, no correlation between the text and the picture. It was just like, so it shows an interesting kind of disconnect between, like, I don't even know what I'm trying to say, but I don't know. It's interesting how each generation handles that. Like, I don't know. that thought doesn't want to come out of my head, whatever I'm trying to say.
I'm glad you brought up like generationally like memes, because like I'm in the military, and and even like my brother-in-law's 16, so the internet too, like you come across these memes and stuff. There's this new one about, it's like heat up a hot bun to 280 degrees in your microwave and chuck it at a homeless person.
That's just assault.
Have you heard that one?
No.
I'm walking around with my brother-in-law, and he's like, man, this weather just makes me want to heat up a honey bun to 280 degrees and chuck it at a homeless person.
That's specific. Why 280 degrees?
I don't know. Apparently that's the optimal temperature, according to the newer generation, to huck a honey bun at a homeless person, which is
oh, it's 289 degrees.
Oh, 289. I'm sorry. I don't want to get I don't want to get crucified in the comments because I was off by a few degrees.
That's interesting.
Freaking millennials over here don't know the difference between the optimal degrees to which you should heat a honey bun.
Oh God.
But yeah, apparently there's a whole meme thread. It's I think I saw like one the other day, which is like a micro nuked one. It's like, this is a warning to all the homeless people out there. And I get it, it's a joke, but like, where's the barrier between intrusive thoughts, essentially, in action? Because there's that barrier. Like there's the border you cross. Like until your brain starts thinking of it, until thought becomes behavior. Because like it's it's kind of funny out of context if you think about it. Like they're like adults can, like, old people can sit around forever and be like, why would you do that? Like, why would you throw hot food at a homeless person? Like, there's no thought process behind it. Some guy just posted on the internet one day, and it caught groupthink and what people think is funny. That's all it really is. But until you go out and do it, it's not. I think that's where the joke ends or starts. If you actually heat it up and throw it at a homeless person.
Yeah. So are you implying kinda that memes are like a mass coping mechanism?
I really think so, because let's look at the situation, and I promised myself that I wouldn't talk about what's going on with Israel. But let's talk about Israel, because you and I on the whole planet, I think, are the most qualified individuals to handle such a complex issue such as what's going on with Israel right now. No, we're not. We're not qualified at all. I think I tried googling more about what's happening in Israel, and I think it just said go color. So go do something else. There's no way you can understand the complexity of what's going on between these two countries. You dumb, you dumb.
Yeah, that's a
That,
interesting and touchy topic.
so we're not going to actually talk about that, but
Yeah.
there's already memes out about what's going on over there. So I think your point that you made, I'm not going to say the memes. They're, you can Google them or go on Pinterest and find them. Very interesting memes. But essentially, like you said, memes I think are a really good way for people to cope with things. When COVID was terrible, people made memes about it. Uh, mass genocide on both sides, memes about it.
Yeah.
The socioeconomically despaired, memes.
Memes.
And same thing with the military. Like you serve with all these guys and it all stinks. It sucks. But like it's a common. You guys find ways to cope essentially. So I think memes and the internet are kind of a way of people to cope and express dark ideas, so they don't feel as alone essentially.
That makes sense with what I mentioned earlier, like the generational difference with memes. It's kind of school life has gotten so like the violence in schools, the fighting, all the shootings, it's gotten so random and unfocused. That difference would make sense. We knew what to make fun of but they're so like we didn't have to deal with the active shooter drills really when we were in school. Like we don't understand that potential, like the fear that you go of being 6 years old having to go through an active shooter drill. It kind of makes sense.
We had active shoot. We had that in Chicago. Like we had active shooter
Fair
drills
enough.
in Chicago.
Well, okay, so that's Chicago.
Yeah.
I guess we did too, now that I'm thinking about it, but it wasn't an overarching fear like it is now. Like there's like, what are we at this year? We're within the dozen to 2 dozen range, right? This year
Right.
alone. So I guess the just, or I don't know, maybe the stress has yeah. I don't know. You're the psychologist. I'm not. I'm not. I just I just hold C-spine and control bleeding. That's
way more important than how are you feeling today.
I don't know. Like
That's a good. Because I know. I think because they would teach us, okay, we're gonna turn off the lights and like get away from the window. I'm like, okay, cool. Like you didn't really think about it. And even when we were in school, like there was you'd hear about a few school shootings. But if you think about it,
Columbine, really, that was the only when prior to 9th grade, I'd say Columbine was really the only big one that like made an impact.
Right. But do you? Because with 10 years ago, like the media, we still had social media. We had major news outlets and stuff like that. MySpace. I think MySpace died out like only in high school.
Oh, you mean popularity? I think it just got turned off like a couple years ago, though, like officially. Yeah.
Oh man, I had pictures on there. I had to.
Megle's gone too, unfortunately.
Is that like chat roulette?
Except less. Never mind.
We need to just do one where you and I are just on chat roulette. Reporting. How do you feel? Oh, that's a butt.
But yeah, I derailed us. That's my bad.
Yeah, that was. Essentially, like the numbers in school shootings have severely increased. But I think another thing that's affecting people socially is the way in which these events are being essentially broadcasted or talked about.
Yeah.
So it's like it's important. Like these things should be we should be talking about these things. They should be on the news. But then obviously people turn some social issues into just one big separate political campaign kind of thing too. which only severely complicates the issue. Because like when you attack someone's political or personal beliefs or worldview in general, uh, you're essentially attacking that person as well. So like
Absolutely.
some people are like stricter gun laws or no guns. Like that's an entire saying no guns. That's an entire personality right there. It's
Yeah.
stinks of cigarettes and racism.
It's an industry. It's an entire massive industry and community.
Right.
It's like, so yeah.
I mean, that's been another, like, whenever people talk about, like, what do we do with school shooters? Like, how do we handle these things? I think one idea was that essentially maybe we stop necessarily focusing on the shooter. Like, after you obviously identify the person, sure, maybe give a little background to them. But I
No,
guess,
that causes more issues.
well, I
That
mean,
feeds into their narcissism generally.
exactly. So like, stop doing that. Like, don't
Yeah.
talk about the shooter. Like, identify them possibly like real quick, but like, don't make the entire broadcast about that person,
About
their
them.
motives.
Yeah.
Because I don't
Yeah.
want to read their poorly written
Manifesto.
grammatically, yeah, just terribly, like, not edited. You just guessed, can't spell. But the way we broadcast these things and like report on them, I think, is a big harm to. Man, we went from intrusive thoughts to school shootings.
I mean, what causes school shootings? It's those like feeding into the intrusive thoughts.
Exactly.
It's not that much of a.
Don't bring a gun.
stretch.
Don't bring a gun to school. Like,
No, that's the first. Yeah.
just because the guys who bring guns to school, you know what? They can't fight. That's the problem. You can't man up and fight a guy in the bathroom like.
You don't need to fight either. It's school. You just need to focus on like anything else.
Just blackmail him.
That too.
I'm
Yeah.
just kidding. I think I keep talking about my brother-in-law. He's in high school, but it's just like, man, what do I do? Like, this guy was throwing banana peels at him just randomly, which I guess is a thing that they do now.
Better than salsa,
It could be worse.
especially if the dude's longboarding.
Oh god, that'd be funny. He's like, what do I do with this guy? I'm like, well, I'll tell you what you shouldn't do. You shouldn't bring a gun to school. He's like, I'm not
You
gonna
tell.
do that.
If
That's
you're
a make
thinking
believe.
about bringing a gun to the school, talk to someone.
Talk
Fuck.
to someone.
Excuse me. Excuse that.
Yeah, we're big on mental health here. Like, yes, we're making jokes here and there, but you should always seek professional help. Because in truth, I think what we've gotten at towards the end here is intrusive thoughts go from being thoughts to behavior, and the internet and meme culture kind of, I guess, validate these feelings. Because you might get like, that's a weird thought, but then you start going, and it can be memes, or next thing you know, you're on some kind of like sketchy group chat, and you're storming the Capitol. It's a slippery slope. It goes from like, I don't like paying my taxes to storming the Capitol.
So along the lines of the rolling ball of get serious here for a second. That rolling ball of intrusive thoughts. So I was a very self-abusive child. Just, stuff I went through, violent marriage between my parents, bad divorce, eating my way into, I don't know how many pounds I gained after that, but I had this steamrolling effect of intrusive thoughts that went from constant daily fat shaming, and that turned into, those intrusive thoughts turned into like intrusive thoughts of wanting to harm myself, because I just had gotten to the point where I just, it's sometimes you depress yourself. There's nobody that can hurt you worse than you. Those intrusive thoughts, I ignored them, didn't tell anybody. That turned into the very serious event when I was 19, where I tried to kill I didn't try to kill myself, I killed myself. It steamrolls, and it's something, if you don't address you end up making potentially a permanent choice. That goes school shootings, like suicide. It all leads back to the ignoring of the intrusive thoughts. The thoughts themselves aren't bad. It's the inaction and lack of ability to identify harmful from not harmful. Because some intrusive thoughts aren't really going to be harmful. Like the OCD, like the I need to press this button. Not harmful.
It's just really annoying.
Yeah. Which memes are good. Memes are like that's partially how I deal with some of those thoughts now, is I make jokes. I'm constantly joking, and I'm very self-deprecating in my humor.
Oh,
That's
man.
an outlet for me.
I think we're timing out here. I think we got about
Yeah.
45 seconds. That's Adam made a really good point there. Not to cut him off. It's just like we're cheap, so we didn't buy the extended Zoom meeting recording feature. But I think we handled this episode pretty well.
It was test.
It was a nice test. Excuse me, my audio quality isn't great. I put my equipment into storage, so hopefully it sounds decent. But that was episode 1. So hopefully y'all enjoyed it. We're going to come out with some more random things to talk about. And yeah, Adam, I'll talk to you later.
Didn't mean to get dark there.
Oh, no, that was good. That was good stuff.